So I was shopping. Oh, it's been a while since that happened, but I remember being in a supermarket and stopping between aisles, and what I was thinking, just pondering which way I wanted to go. I watched a young mother pushing the cart, just zipping in and out of each aisle. She had a mission, right? She had this little kid with her. That's probably why she was moving so swiftly to the store because she's got things to do. But she's got that little one, probably a 2-year-old girl, and she had her busy sitting in the car. The kid sitting in the shopping cart, and the kid was just sitting there. Wanted to pick up a box or something, and it was a box that I forget what the item was. There's something clearly that she was going to buy, but she said, "Here," handed it to the kid. But the kid was taking the box, and she got the little chubby hands holding it and flipping it very slowly, and then her eyes would shift, and then she would examine every square inch of this box, and but her eyes is what really caught me, and I started to laugh, but not out loud. You go this because I didn't want the mother to think that was creepy. I just happened to see it happen in a flash, but it's just the intensity of the child's gaze that got me. When was the last time we looked at something new, anything, as though it was the first time we've seen it and we wanted to know what it was about? And this is what we do when we're little. We have no clue, no programming, just basic software. And we get bombarded by the environment, all these different mixture of information, misinformation, you name it. We have to have somebody guide us along, right? This is how we all get here. And this is the right time to form beliefs and how we're going to behave in the future. It all starts in the very beginning, like anything else. But we lose that quality to slow down and ignore a pattern, meaning that to hold something in your hand, something that's new, and look, let's just say something that you recognize, and you hold it in your hand or you observe it, and is it possible to shift our minds to see something that we recognize, but see it with different eyes? And it is something that I taught myself, and I forced this on myself because I had some lingering trauma from way back, even from the service. And I'll just give you a quick background. And I ended up in therapy, and which was actually good this time around. And I started digging into things that I didn't really like that I had been doing, and they were not really they're not really beneficial behaviors or attitude mostly. And seeing the child reminds me of that, and that I made a promise to myself some time ago that I would do my best to see even familiar things, situations, and patterns as something new. Because what was happening, given my training, also working in security and just having a mindset that's always everybody's guilty. Something's People are up to something. It's hard to navigate through life and relationships that way. But the relationships with ourselves is that we have to be able to slow down enough to examine and observe and appreciate the moment. Am I detecting a pattern? This reminds me of X that happened so many years ago. Okay, fair enough. Do we have to act on it? And the child's mind example is something that this lesson addresses, in that I'm trying to nudge you into getting closer to the idea that when we see something, even something that's familiar, it's possible that we're being presented with something that's familiar. Why is the universe kicking it back to us? It happens to me all the time. Why am I experiencing this all over again? Maybe it wasn't resolved in the first time, and it requires examination. And if it sounds a little bit too esoteric, hear me out. I wanted to be able to show that having curiosity is a good thing at any age, for that matter. But I'm finding it more as we get older, we lose that. I want to say not mystery, but that magic. You could call it magic, where we find ourselves from not knowing to seeing something new, to being like that little kid at the supermarket holding a box, two tiny hands, language skills that probably not fully developed yet, cannot communicate, hey, what's in this box, can I read the label, does it have red dye number 40 in it, what's in here, what is it. Babies are like, they see things, they'll see their hands and they start chewing, maybe not be teething even when they grab their feet. And I'm not that flexible anymore, but they're examining the foot and then grabbing it. It's the same thing. Can I eat it? They take a little bite and nod, okay, that's attached to me, okay, moving on, what is this for? And then they find out that the feet are for walking or kicking down doors, whatever it is, pedaling a bicycle, for running on the beach. It helps with swimming. It's an amazing thing how we start making connections. And I think as we grow older, we think that we have turned into something better because we're a newer, we're a more mature, improved version of the original. But the original, in my opinion, and from experience, when we reset to the original, I'm not saying go outside and dress like a 2 year old, but that your mind is open to receive the information and then you start sorting it out without prejudice. And I know this is hard. I wanted to propose to you in this lesson. I don't know how long I'm going to go for it. Oh, I got plenty of time. I wanted to bring you, I know I talked before about doing new things, something that will liberate that attitude from us is definitely engaging in something artistic. And I know some people will say, but I'm not an artist or I'm not creative. It starts off right off the bat with a negative. The fear factor and the not knowing, it always going to get in the way, but we can ignore it. You can say, I'm interested, I'm curious, and I have a desire to explore. And I don't know if there's a manual somewhere about human beings where we lose that, where we don't give ourselves permission to do something new. I had a conversation with a much younger man at one of my older jobs, and I mentioned that I had a musical background at some point, long before I went into the service. And I came from a musical family, so I had no choice. Everybody played an instrument. My mom had to play an instrument for a little bit, and he was saying that had he was a military brat. He said, so growing up, him and the family travel a lot. Naturally, I've had that experience, but he always wanted to take violin lessons, and I got two violinists in the family, so I played violin for a little bit when I was little, and I switched to piano and voice because that's how it is. We pick the things that we like the most, and he felt like he had missed out on something. He felt sad, and his voice conveyed that. And I told him, "But how old are you? Yeah, I'm pushing 40, and you can start at any time. You never know where that's going to take you." And immediately the blocks. Yeah, but I'm married and I have a son now, and I work this job, and I was feeling bad for him, but not so bad. Yeah, those are long hours, the stuff that we used to do there, and it's all high tech stuff, government contracting, and this person, it's mind sucking work. Like I've been an analyst where there's creativity can come in the way of finding information and conveying it and putting it together and turn it into a deliverable, be a report, an analysis, etc. But this individual, yeah, I know, I'm in front of a computer for many hours and in a room with no windows, and there's just no input from the outside world except through some emails and phone calls. Very boring stuff. Doesn't really stimulate the brain. You learn the job and it becomes repetitive. And I held many jobs like that one for many years where it just totally killed my creativity, the artistic side of me. It just wiped it out. And I had to recover that at some point. But I was trying to convince him that if he really desired to do that, make good money, I know you're raising a kid. Couldn't you integrate a musical endeavor with child? I'm trying to weave it in a way that maybe you should see it with different eyes. You, the person that feels left out, or that they experience FOMO, right? I missed out and I was little, but then we couldn't afford it and we moved around. Okay, everything's an excuse. I get it. I've had to hold back many times myself. So there's no judgment here, but I understand the blockages that we have. And I understand that we put up barriers. Sometimes the barriers really don't exist. We make them up. They exist. The barrier is fear or is insecurity. You can put any name to it. And I propose to you not to be like this young person that who really should have just went for it. You can buy a cheap violin for an adult. It doesn't set you back a lot of money. And I had one in storage unit. I was willing to give it to him, but the attitude was more like I'm giving up on that, and there's no point. And later in life, 40, 50, 60, and you're like, I'm one of them that grumble when I want to try something new. And I keep reminding myself of the same thing. So I'm human, and I do fall back a little bit sometimes on my own system, and I remind myself just not to put a lot of emotional pressure into I have to do this because that's going to make me better. And then that becomes a pressure and it brings in anxiety and all that. And I know that if you try something new, it has to be that you going into it with open eyes. You're not going to have the expectations like most people. One last example on that. I taught piano for a little bit on and off for a few years. I still had a full-time job, and I was in uniform. I was still in the military, and at some point I was no longer in the military, and I was teaching people's homes, kids. People have money and they could pay for lessons weekly, and some students did really well. Some kind of didn't quite cheat like I used to in high school. That I didn't practice a lot, but a lot of them were really bright. And sadly, some of them were just only students for just to give them something to do until they went to a camp, for example, and parents wanted them to have something that was educational and put them to work to do something. Nothing wrong with that. They may not develop a great musical talent, given the fact that if you just do it for the springtime or spring break or summer break and whatnot. But just the same, the parent has the right idea that when the kids are young, you should be engaging in something as always. But kids are always going to be able to pick up things faster. They're not as prejudiced as those of us who go into 40, 50, 60. We get a lot of prejudices up here. And mostly the prejudice I'm talking about are limitations. Those are those self-limiting thinking, those thoughts and those beliefs, they need to be slowly and kindly and gently phased out. Uh, Me, I like to try to grab them by the neck and just pull them out, and they come back. So there has to be a better approach to do this. And I talked before about taking up some form of instruction. And this is highly recommended. And recently I met another person who was walking around with this book, and I got excited about it because I went to 12 weeks of this. And initially I'm like, you're kidding me. This is nothing but journaling. Journaling is very important. And I've been writing for a long time. Until a few years ago, I still had journals from before I left high school to my first year in the Navy, after I got married, after I got divorced. I still had a few of them. I went through them one time and then I ditched them because we shouldn't be hanging on to old stuff. But I reminisced a little bit about, oh, the time that this happened. Now I remember. This is why you write it down, but also to resolve things. Sometimes when we write things down, we end up resolving some problem that we have. And this is too close. And my camera is looking backwards. I'm hoping that it gets straightened out. This is the artist way. And these are the morning pages. And I heard about morning pages for some time. Julia Cameron is the author, of course. And I have the actual book. I read the book I went through it rather quickly, but then I decided to get the package deal, the whole kit, and then I just dove into this. And initially, I was reluctant to do this, but I felt that I had to force myself to go through some sort of transformation where I could just get that the artistic side of me back because I wanted it. I wanted to do some things that were artistic in nature, not just for profit, but I wanted to create some products, and I really needed my artistic side to kick in, and I was having doubts, terrible doubts. This is just writing. I started to doodle at some point. This is not like real art. I call it's called ugly art for a reason. It's just nothing. It's just doodling, not even sketching. But I broke out the pens and I wrote every day. And I started out with maybe 3 pages. And originally, I think it's 3 pages worth, and that's a lot of writing. This is done in one shot, and if things start opening up, they really do. And you have to go into this exercise for 12 weeks. They tell you first to go through it about 8 weeks into it before you even think about going back and looking at your notes. I didn't even do that. I felt no need. I was actually writing things and I felt it. Like I did not think I was gonna make that commitment. I was really going through a lot of stuff at work and just really a lot of blockages. But when it hit about the 8th week, I believe that all hell broke loose. I was starting to feel more confident about the creative process and how my contribution to creativity and art and all that. It's as a self-expression exercise. We all should have the ability for self-expression, and it boils down to that. Can the individual express who they are, what they like, and actually put it into either words? We take a writing course. I did a couple of writing courses in the past year. One writing comedy sketches. I never knew I was going to do that, but I thought, why not? I did 6 weeks of that. Loved it. I wrote a hilarious sketch. People are still laughing about that. I'm not going to talk about the sketch today, but it was crazy because you liberate yourself to just create something. Just let it out of your brain, unlock it, and let's see where it takes you. And a recent example, I went to the same group with veterans where they do the arts for veterans as a nonprofit. One of the few that I actually like, and it's called ASAP. You can look them up, asap.org. And they usually have the improv. They do the comedians and all that. I've met some people before. I've taken some classes where these are the veterans that actually go on the road and they do a comedy thing. And I'm not interested in doing comedy, stand up. I can be pretty funny sometimes, but it hasn't really appealed to me. I've done acting before. I haven't done the Shakespeare group, but they have a variety of things. They have a choir, they have music programs, and I just it popped into I wanted another art class. I did a drawing class, which was hands down the best experience I've had in a long time following this course because by then I was already feeling pretty free that I could draw effectively. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that I actually had the freedom to just go ahead and draw. And the class came and went so fast. And by the time from day one to day 6 to week 6, leaps and bounds. I was just really rocking it. I don't have that sketchbook here handy, but don't want to do any bragging because they're sketches. Sketches really are studies on how to do something in general, and they can turn into paintings and all that stuff. But the one thing that I did try with this group ASAP recently was a workshop that came to my inbox, and part of my brain screamed at me, "You're not going to do that," and part of me just went ahead and does it because that's the game that I play. It's a good way to troll your own brain, do the opposite of what your fears tell you to do. Of course, within reason, but we're talking about art. And I recently did a rainy Saturday, and there was a 2-hour workshop. I've done these before as a singer with another large group. They put you through the ringer for 4 hours of just gut wrenching rehearsals. And if you're a singer, I'm a soprano, so it's pretty tiring. at 4 hours. You have to have a lot of energy, and then bring in the other musicians. I'm not gonna name the name of the group, but they're here in DC, and they're pretty well known. And my voice coach insisted that it was good training, and she was right. She was correct. It was good training. I didn't really enjoy that much. I'm turning it off because I wasn't playing anything significant. It's not like copyrighted music because it was horrible. It's my first time actually laying hands on an electric guitar. And why did it? I just shook my head. My head inside my head was shaking. What are you doing? This is the best clip that one of the other veterans could take. Uh, but I ended up coming in for the audition, which is basically it's a school and it's just down the street from my home. I felt that maybe I could just spend a couple hours and see what I could do. So this split the group into two, and then basically we just put some songs together, basically 90s rock, alternative. I missed a lot of the 90s because I was deployed to places, and I just never really. You can hear music in the background. It's a blur. The 90s were a blur musically for me until we kicked in into the 2000s, and I was been shocked that I was enjoying holding the guitar. I really hate the twisting of the hand. I remember playing violin and going, man, this sucks. Knowing that I play piano and I sing, I can control those two instruments better, and I just didn't go back to a string instrument. But why the guitar? And my dad used to teach music, so he had some young people used to come at this home studio, and they he made a deal with them. I'll teach you how to play the guitar on an electric guitar because you're a young guy. I have two brothers used to come in, and I used to just listen to that guitar like it's awesome, and you just plug it in, and but he told them, "I'll cut your deal. You have to learn on an acoustic guitar, the classical way." There's just that was the deal, and the boys went ahead and said, "Yeah, we'll do that, Professor." So they used to come in once a week and used to listen to them playing that electric guitar. He didn't like it, but he thought that it was a good thing to oblige someone to give them more skill. Uh, to expand as a musician, which is interesting because my dad was a much like an improv kind of guy, but he's an excellent musician and music instructor. But that I can only play music if I can read it. Like I wasn't really allowed to do a lot of improv and tinkering and all that. No, you read what's on the music. Very limiting. But this is all training. So everybody has their own way of training. And years, million years later, I find myself sitting through a session, holding a guitar, going, "What am I doing here? It's a Saturday. It's raining, cats and dogs." And how quickly I made the decision to come that following week and sit in one of their audition rehearsals to see how they play band. So they teach you the instrument and they force you to play band, which is I'm pretty used to learning something quickly, and they happen to implement it. I, the choosing of the instrument was the interesting thing. And what I want to encourage you with this lesson, pick something that you might have thought before was really daunting to you, or maybe you didn't like it because you didn't get a good teacher or a good experience right off the bat, and then you just walked away. Like any human, and it's understandable. Choose something, just something you've been curious about, and just get a little taste of it. Just get a little taste of it. Don't hold back, and be like the toddler at the supermarket and hold it with both hands and engage all your senses with no prejudice, no guilt, no fault, just you in that moment to learn something new and start building those connections in your brain. And like I said, replacing the self-limiting beliefs with the new thing. And the new thing is going to become more focused because you're going to have to figure out ways to engage with your body and your senses where you're going to get better. You're going to be more engaged in doing the new thing as a new habit. So whatever you pick, it's going to have to serve you. I'm looking at my guitar across from here. I still shake my head. Like part of my brain still telling me, I can't believe you did that. Yeah, the amp's over there, guitar's on the couch, and I have to get an hour's practice every day. And yes, I had to go to a band practice. It's something I never got to do before. I got to sing opera. I got to sing do the theater, doing community theater, so doing operettas, putting on uh, costumes and makeup and all that. I've done all that. I have to do auditions and all that. This is something that's very unique. This is a different stage in life. I think we should challenge ourselves to, can I do that? Why not? It's wide open. So there's no judgment when we see the world new or even familiar things with brand new eyes. So your brain is going to be brand new with never even the things you've seen before. Just ignore the fact that you know them and start to see them from a different light and see where it takes you. So Shoshin is having the curiosity. This is another Japanese principle that I'm teaching in my course. And I wanted to give you an introduction. This went a little longer than I expected, but I got excited about it. It's been a while since I put up one of my lessons online. Of course, I'm still teaching online. My Mindset Mastery Accelerator course still available. And I will have a link in the description, of course. I'm here to serve. But I wanted to share these experiences with you because maybe you start to think of doing something new for yourself or New Year, and I think it's the best kindness is to be practiced on ourselves. So open up your eyes, the inside eyes, the outside eyes, and just look for something new to challenge yourselves with and grow. And I will see you at the next lesson. And if you would do me a kindness, of course, so you can subscribe and share this video with someone who may need just a life readjustment, let them know. This program is available, and I'll be here on YouTube, and hopefully you help me grow this channel as well. And I'm so happy that you stopped in to watch today. Again, new eyes. Don't forget about that. Take care.